Welcome to the Hey Boomer podcast, the show that inspires listeners to know that you are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. My guest this week, Don Hurzeler, is an adventurer, an award-winning photographer. He has swam with sharks, 15-foot saltwater crocodiles, climbed to the edge of lava flows, and his philosophy is do it with people who know what they're doing, face your fears, and life is too short, so do what you love. My name is Wendy Green, and I am your host for Hey Boomer. Hello, Hey Boomer listeners. Welcome to March 1st. Who would have thought it's already March? So I've had a couple of adventures this week. First was that I got my first COVID vaccine, and that went so smoothly. I had one day of feeling a little bit tired, a little bit of a sore arm. That was it. So very happy that that was all the side effects on that. The other adventure was not nearly as much fun. My bank account was hacked. I found it on Friday afternoon. I spent this morning at the bank trying to work that out. So I think maybe having somebody here on our show as an expert on fraud and online banking and scams and all that stuff may be a good topic for another show. But that is not the kind of adventures that we want to talk about today. We are going to talk about some amazing outdoor adventures with our guest, Don Hurzeler. And I found in my research, there's a personality type called adventurer. I don't know if Don even knows that. And the adventurer personality type says that they throw caution to the wind. They venture where most fear to tread. They're not bound by the same terrors and worries that limit others. They like to live on the edge. They challenge boundaries and restrictions, and they pit themselves against their own mortality. Now, our guest today, who I'll bring on in a few minutes, was a retired insurance company CEO. So he knows about risk. So it's going to be interesting to hear his take on the characteristics of an adventurer and how he weighs the risk against that. Our show today has two sponsors. Our first sponsor is the Fearless Leader Program. If you want to get your business, career, and life back on track, apply for this 8-week group mentoring program facilitated by Kathy McAfee, my very dear friend. It's 100% virtual and 100% empowering. And I know this to be true because I just completed that program. And Kathy has a special offer for Hey Boomer listeners. If you sign up for the program, the first one starts next month, or not the first one, but the next one starts next month. She's going to give you $100 off of the tuition. The world needs more fearless leaders. So why not you? You can go to fearlessleader.me and sign up. Our other sponsor is the Lifeline Screening Company. So if you want to find out what your risk is for cardiovascular disease or stroke, getting screened with Lifeline Screening could give you the peace of mind or possibly early detection. Screenings are painless and non-invasive. And if you use the link that's on the Facebook page to schedule your appointment, you get 5 screenings for only $149. So it's a big savings for Boomer listeners. And if you cannot find that link, you can email me and I will send it to you. You can email me at wendy@heyboomer.biz. One more message. If you want to receive our Monday morning email that will give you the links to the show so that it's super easy to find, just go to heyboomer.biz, our website, and subscribe. And what's going to happen is you'll get a Monday morning email with all of the links. And then you will also get a second email during the week with a link to the blog post for that week. So I hope you'll go and subscribe. It's a great way to be part of our community. And of course, chat. We love to see your comments in the chat. I see Kathy, Gail, Elizabeth, and Ann are here already saying hi. So thank you guys for being here. And we love your comments and your questions. And feel free to pepper Don with questions because he's got lots of stories. So let me bring him on so that y'all can meet him. Hi, Don.
Well, aloha, Wendy, and aloha, boomers.
Aloha to Hawaii. So let me tell them a little bit about you. Okay. So Don, during his years as a responsible adult, was a successful insurance company CEO on Wall Street. He is now a 70-something award-winning photographer, a gallery co-owner, and a surfer in Kona, Hawaii. Don is more alive than he's ever been, despite his many unwise life choices. Don. For instance, he's been dangerously close to molten lava. He's been in water unprotected with 15-foot saltwater crocodile. He swam with sharks, armed only with his camera, and he's nearly been pummeled to death by the unforgiving ocean while taking surf photos. And it's all in his new memoir, What's Left of Don, which I'm telling you is quite a read. And Don, you wrote this memoir while being quarantined during the pandemic, right?
Absolutely. You know, we were pretty well shut down over here in Hawaii, and no tourists coming to see us. And even for a while, the beaches were closed.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you could get into the ocean, but you couldn't stay on the beach, and you couldn't hang out with your friends and the like. And so I'm at age 73, I'm not willing to waste my time as I may have at other points in my life. And so I sat down and actually wrote in the past 12 months 4 books, 2 that are out and 2 more that are coming out. So
Wow.
Yeah, kept me busy.
Very prolific. And you've still had your adventurous life. So the definition I read, Don, in the beginning about the adventurer personality, how does that fit?
Well, I thought it fit just about perfectly, except for one word in there. And I think you said fearless. And I am in no way fearless. Ask any of the real pros that I go out with, my photo partners, CJ Kale, or Darren Verbeck, who I go out with deep with sharks and the like, and some of the other folks, Seth and others. They have to drag me into some of these situations because I do have basic common sense. I was a risk assessor for all of my professional life. And I know that I'm getting into trouble in certain areas, and I don't do it without professionals around me, big, strong, young people around me to help me out when I get in trouble. And sometimes that not big but strong person is my wife. She kept a big shark off of me just recently. So,
yeah, you told me about that. Tell the listeners about that story.
Well, I got hit in the nose by somebody who wasn't as keen about being in the water with the sharks as my wife and I happened to be. And so that person was heading to the boat and accidentally hit me in the nose with their knee, I think, and kind of broke my nose. And so it's bleeding profusely. And the sharks kind of like that.
Yeah, they like that blood.
They decided to kind of come at me, and I'm trying to fiddle with my mask and all that. And it was a big and very, very dangerous shark, oceanic white tip, as big as they get, actually. And Linda stepped in front of me and between me and the shark, and held that shark off with her camera housing. And I was very appreciative of that.
What a wife, right?
Yeah. Good to have that wife.
Good to have that wife. Yeah. We're getting some great comments here, Don. They love the title of your book. Kathy's saying, no time to waste. Holy moly, Don, you're a one productive boomer. And and you clearly feel the fear and do it anyway. And you talk about that in the book.
Yeah, I'm not a honestly, I am not a brave guy. I mean, I may be not very cautious, but I'm not brave. Some of this stuff scares me to death. You mentioned the crocodiles. That was 5.5 hours from a telephone, 40 miles off the coast of Mexico and Belize border at a place called Banco Chinchero. And you hop in the water, and these things are a couple thousand pounds and up to 15 feet long. And they are literally, I have a camera housing that I hold in my hand. They are literally at the front end of my camera housing. They're just inches away from me, and they wait and wait and wait to attack you. And when they do open their mouth, it's huge, and their teeth are remarkable. And so my hands literally shook like this, and I've never seen my hand shake like that. Well, one other time, big surf in really big surf on Maui one time, but my hands were shaking like this. And I said to the guy who had organized this trip, who owns Shark Diver magazine, I said, Eli, I think I'm scared. And he goes, I'm scared too, buddy.
So you intentionally got in the water. You intentionally got in the water with those crocodiles. That was not like a mistake.
No, we did it on purpose. That was the whole idea, was to go down to Mexico and do that. And then we followed that up with going many miles out to sea off of Isla Mujeres in Mexico. And Linda joined me for that. She kind of decided she didn't like the crocodiles, but she joined me for that. And we hopped in with whale sharks on that particular trip. When you hop in with whale sharks here, which has only happened 3 or 4 times in the past 10 years in Hawaii, because they're not that frequent here. When we hopped in Isla Mujeres, there were 600 whale sharks at a time. And they are completely harmless, but they are 30 to 60 feet long, and they have 5-foot mouths that come right at you. They're very impressive. They're not scary at all. I would take my grandchildren or anybody to go with us on that trip. So that was quite a couple of weeks down in Mexico.
Well, you said that you go with people that know what they're doing, and you talk to them about the risks and whatever. How do you handle those crocodiles? What's the risk aversion or risk mitigation strategy for that?
Well, throughout my working life, after I got through my first, few years of being a supervisor and all that, once I kind of got up to being a department manager or something larger like that, I made a decision, and that decision was, I'm going to hire the best people out there. I'm not going to hire rookies and train them. Life's too short. Other people can do that. God bless them. I'm going to, I did, by the way, sponsor and really work with our rookies in the company, but I was in an area that I didn't feel rookies were going to be the best choice. So I went for the best. And I feel the same about safety people. Mm-hmm. I've got a guy named Chris Knight in London, and Chris and I travel together here and elsewhere. And he's a big, strong guy. He won Fear Factor of the UK, and he's a fireman, and my wife loves him. He's young and good looking and strong. And so he and I go together. Eli is the best in the world that I know of with sharks. So is Darren Verbeck. They're just absolutely fabulous. CJ Kale is the guy I want next to me in big surf. And so, I go out with those folks. I try not to do it on my own. I've done some stupid things on my own, but I try to team up with people. And the same on the lava. When we go out in the lava, I don't do solo missions. I know people who do. I don't. I go out with experts.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a fair message to put out, like we like to challenge ourselves, any of us that are entrepreneurs and boomers that now are realizing there's not a lot of time left. Let's live life to its fullest, but to do it smartly, I think is a great idea. So we were talking right before we came on about Tiger Woods' accident, and an accident that you had in a very similar location. And I think it kind of sets the groundwork for how you are today. So if you'd share that story.
It changed my whole life. I was raised in a place called Palos Verdes States, California, which is a beautiful hill that looks out on the Santa Monica Bay and all of Los Angeles. And I was 14 years old. It was August the 14th, the middle of hot summer. Back in those days, we wandered around in swim shorts. I don't think I even had shoes on, flip-flops or anything, no t-shirt. And I'd gone up to a shopping center to buy a present for my younger sister because it was her birthday. And I got her a little deal of fingernail polish, which was all that I could afford. Put it in my pocket. I had my best friend, Mike Fales, with me. And we tried to hitchhike our way back home. This is the same road exactly that Tiger had his accident on. He had it on the downhill side. On one side of the hill, I had my accident on the downhill side on the going back to where he came from, really, from Terranea Resort, which is where he was staying. So we couldn't get a ride. It was hot. We couldn't get a ride, And a big double dump truck came by, and it was filled with gravel. And it was going uphill 5 miles an hour. And I looked at Mike, Mike looked at me, and we ran and jumped on the back wheel covers of that trailer. Now, we hadn't really thought through the whole game plan on this. When he got to the top of the hill and it flattened out, he got up to maybe 30, 35 miles an hour. And Mike decided that he was going to jump. And he jumped and he caught his arm. And I don't know if I really don't remember it all. It's been a long time. Either I helped him get his arm loose or he got his arm loose himself. And he rolled off to the side and he was a tangled up, bloody mess. I thought he was dead. And so I thought, well, I'll ride this thing down to the bottom of the hill and I'll take my beating from the driver or from the police or whoever. But I'm not going to go through what Mike just went through. We got to the top of the hill and we started going down. And to shorten up the story, I noticed that we were passing cars. And pretty soon we were passing cars and blowing the horn. And then he started running the truck into the side of the hill that I was seated on. I was looking backwards. He didn't know I was there. Yeah. I was looking backwards and he would run it into that hill because he was trying to carve off some speed with that friction. And he did that about 2 times, and then I envisioned what was ahead of me, which was a big turn near a Nike station, a missile station back in those days, and then a straight run to a cliff that was several hundred feet high into the ocean.
Oh my gosh!
So I thought, well, I made my deal with God and got ready for what was next, and it flipped. He hit another truck. Sent that truck over a smaller cliff. And when he flipped, it sent me off like a rocket ship. And I woke up maybe a half hour, 45 minutes later. Nobody knew that I had been injured or was in the accident. I managed to get back up to him. I had a broken pelvis and I was blind in one eye and which came back, thank God, and skinned alive. I was just skinned alive. And it was this very serious injury. But from that day forward, because there was no possible way that I could have lived through that, not absolutely impossible to survive that. He was doing 90 according to his speedometer when it flipped. So there was no way I could have lived through that. I landed in a freshly plowed field over some big rocks that I missed, between 2 trees that I missed. So a miracle. And I have appreciated time since then, because I know it's limited for all of us. I know I'm on extra time and have been for a long time. And it made me a very appreciative person of life. And I still am. I don't want to waste time. I'm not hyper like I used to be. I'm a little hyper, but I'm a lot less hyper than I was. But I want to get things done and I want to see as much as I can.
Yeah. So how about your friend? Was Mike okay?
Mike turned out to be okay. I talked to him 2 days ago, as a matter of fact. He's fine. It scarred up his knees pretty bad, but no lasting effects other than the trauma that we both went through on that one.
Wow. You two were so lucky. And
really?
Yeah.
If he hadn't jumped, he would have been killed because he'd have been thrown into the truck itself. And so he made a wise decision, even though it didn't look like it at the time.
Somebody was looking out for both of you at that point, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and still you swim with crocodiles and sharks and go to the lava. Now you've sent me some amazing pictures. And so I'm curious, were you a photographer before you retired?
I was a photographer, and I have had a good sense of composition. I had great equipment. I went to cool places, and I didn't have a single idea in the world how the camera actually worked. So
Okay.
I put it on auto like almost everybody does. And guess what? I got average shots.
Okay.
And every now and again, I got really good shots because auto worked, but it doesn't work very often. And those of us who are professional photographers will tell you never, ever, ever shoot in auto, ever. Just learn the basics of the camera and do the things that the camera wants you to do, and you'll be fine. But auto doesn't do it. So I was not a good photographer at all until I met CJ Cale and Nick Selway, who were my two adventure buddies over here. And those two patiently, because we were old geezers and stubborn, they patiently taught my wife and I to get up to a professional level. And now both Linda and I are winning our own contests, and I don't mean contests that we run ourselves, but we win competitions and we sell our photos on a regular basis in our beautiful gallery, and life is good.
Yeah. In fact, I wanted to show a picture of your website because you have a few pictures of the gallery in there.
Yeah.
And so tell me about this gallery and how you got it started.
Well, CJ Cale and Nick Selway. Oh, I like that one with the jumping wildebeest. It's in a competition right now, as a matter of fact. And there's the crocodile coming at me.
There's the crocodile.
And the odd one over on the left there is at the top of Mauna Kea. Those two telescopes are trying to focus in on the same star so they can photograph it, kind of get a 3D look at it. And the one above that is a wave coming at me underwater. And so those I'm glad you picked those four, because I love those four.
Yeah, they're great pictures.
Yeah. So CJ and Nick started a small little gallery, and as time went by, I suggested that their work was such that they should have a world-class, first-class gallery. And so I worked with them to get them going in a place called Waikoloa, which is near Kona here in Hawaii. It's kind of the upscale area. And they started that gallery about 7-8 years ago. And my wife and I had some of our photos in it. And then Nick moved off to Colorado to have a gallery of his own. And so he's now in Breckenridge, Colorado. And so Linda and I took over his part of it. So now it's CJ and Linda and I, and we're very proud of that gallery. It's a lot of fun. We sell great big prints. Some of them 9 foot by 12 foot on metal, and a lot of them are 40 by 60 inches, and they're just spectacular looking. And CJ's has had the cover of National Geographics and the like, so he's got some startlingly beautiful images. And Linda's got one that she's got many, but she's got one of a turtle that will just stop you in your tracks and the like. So it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Now, is it open? Like, can people walk into the gallery now?
Yeah, it's a 1,500 square foot beautiful gallery that's open 12 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
And 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's a physical gallery, and we've in the past had several employees and the like, but COVID kind of did us in. We were closed from March until September. And then we opened up in October with no employees, and started trying to recover. And we've had a great October, November, December, January, and February was wonderful as well. And now we know from past years things will trail off a little bit. We kind of do our best business in the wintertime, and then summer will come along and we'll have a resurgence.
And do you do online? Like, I could order pictures?
We do online, and online saved our life because I think, I may be wrong about this, but I think we only had one unprofitable month while we were closed. And
That's
I think
great.
we lost $300 that month. I may be wrong about that, but and it was from our wonderful returning customers who contacted us and wanted something new, or it was from people online who went to our Lavalite Gallery's website and purchased something off the site. So between the two of them, it kept us in business. We were able to pay our rent, so that was a good
which
thing.
is a good thing, right? And
Yeah.
and you are, I don't know when you sleep, because you're doing all these adventures, you're writing these books, and you have your own publishing
I
company.
do have my own publishing company, yes, because I learned how much money goes out the door when you don't control the whole publishing process. So I'm an old business CEO, and I figured that out early on. So I've had that company, Kuabe Publishing LLC, for about 10 years, and it's really been wonderful for me and for others.
Well, yeah, I read somewhere, Don, that you actually help writers get published. Is that right?
I formed it for that specific, I can't say that today, reason, was to help new writers get published, because I'd been through that process, and it was very difficult. I had two different publishers starting out, and they were wonderful, by the way. I have no gripes with either one of them, but it was difficult. And so I wanted to make it easy. I wanted to help people avoid the pitfalls. I made some classic mistakes along the way that cost me money, and I wanted to make sure that that didn't happen to them. So I still offer that to new authors for free. I never charge them a nickel. Wow. And I'll spend as much time as necessary to help them do that. What I've stopped doing is I've stopped actually publishing the book for them. I've done that for quite a while, but there are some tax ramifications of that I won't bore you with, that I finally said, it's beginning to look like a job and work, and I don't do jobs and work anymore. So I quit that part. I'll help anybody. I'll help any of your listeners. They can email me. In fact, my direct email address is djhzz@aol.com. And any one of them wants to drop me a note and get some advice, I will be happy to help them.
AOL. I haven't heard that.
I am, by the way, the last person left on AOL, so they're.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, they can find you there. They can also go to your website,
right?
donhurzeler.com.
I like that.
Yeah. So many stories in this book, and I'm curious about what your next two books are going to be about. Well,
one of them I think you're really going to like. The other one is we've already talked about My Pretentious Memoir, and it's my misadventures in life. And those who know me and hate me or love me, they'll love that book, because it will verify everything they've always thought about me, that I am truly, once I put the suit away, which I did 12 years ago, probably borderline idiot. And so that book kind of verifies that. And that one's out now, My Pretentious Memoir. But I wrote a book before either of those two called Smells Like Retirement. And that book is a different kind of a retirement book. Instead of being a save your nickels and put it in your IRA and do this and do that, it is, who are you going to be? What are you going to do? And where are you going to do it when you retire? Mm-hmm. And it's a thought process that my wife and I went through when it was time for us to retire. And we really didn't decide to go to Hawaii until about 6 months before my retirement. I was too busy to think about it. Most people are. Yeah. And we knew we'd been in Illinois for 24 years, loved it, but I don't really ever want to see snow again. Yeah. So we decided we wanted to go someplace warm. And this thought process takes us through, how to make that happen. So I have revised that book. And that was about 2 or 3 years ago I put that out. And it's going to come out here in the next couple of months with the title. It's something like COVID Cooks Careers, and It Smells Like Retirement. And it's going to be some advice for people who've been, thought they had the world made, thought they had their retirement all figured out, I'll just run this one out to the end. And gee, I can even see my retirement date. And then somebody came up to him in about March of last year and said, hey, we don't have a job for you.
That's right.
Or, you know what, we've turned your job into something that you can do at home. And so since you can do it at home, we found that there's 20,000 people who would like to have your job. So we're going to offer it to them at a little less price than what we pay you. I mean, those kinds of things are happening all the time. Because I wrote that Smells Like Retirement book, I get emails all the time, and they are always, hey, guess what happened to me? I didn't expect any of this. What do you think? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. And so I've taken all of that and put it into about 4 pretty simple chapters that I'm going to add to Smells Like Retirement and put it back out and say, hey, this is a reboot of if you've already read the other one, you know, drop me a note and I'll send you the 4 chapters. But if you haven't read it, you ought to read the whole thing together. And so that's what I'm going to do.
That sounds good. That's exactly what happened to me in March last year.
No.
Yes. And so I started Hey Boomer. So and then one other podcast called The Caregiver's Bakery, right? But yeah, it's,
you know, I've had a philosophy for most of my life that says there's opportunity in chaos. And in fact, every breakthrough I've ever had in my career or life has come in times of chaos, in times of, hey, Don, we're selling the company that you belong to. We're leaving the state. We're closing your office. We're eliminating your job, whatever it happens to be. Those have all turned out in the long run, after the pain has been put up there, after the confusion has been handled, have all turned out to be wonderful opportunities for me. And it sounds to me like that's happening to you now.
I think so. And I think that's part of this being a survivor, taking the risk, you know, assessing it, obviously, but
right,
jumping in when others might have stopped.
Right.
So, yeah. So I have always wanted to go to see the lava flows. And you go out in the middle of the night for that, right?
Well,
but can you describe that a little bit? The lava
flow? Goodness, I spent way too long in the book describing it, and so
you did. In fact, that's a picture of you and Linda there, right?
That's my wife and I looking down into the lava as it goes into the sea, and that was taken on the first night that we met CJ Kale, our first full night or second full night here in Hawaii when we retired here 12 years ago. So. There's several ways to see the lava. Right now, the only way, well, there's 2 ways to see it right now. You can see it from a helicopter. Cost a little bit, but it's one of the most fabulous experiences of your life. I spent a lot of time in a helicopter. I love helicopters and small planes when it comes to lava viewing. And it's a great way to get an idea of the whole scenario. The second way is to go at night, as you said, because at night, it glows. The lava, which you can't physically see right now, you maybe later this month it'll be high enough that you can see it. There's a 700 and some foot deep lake of liquid lava right now, liquid rock. It covers 80 some acres, but it's not quite high enough for you to see it from the vantage points. And what you can see is it casts up into its own steam and gases that it's putting out, and any clouds that go by, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So we go out usually around midnight and we look for moonbows. You get under the right circumstances, if there's a full moon, you'll get a rainbow that is every bit as bright as it is in the daytime, except at night. Huh. And sometimes they are right over where the lava is in Halemaumau crater. So that's the second way, is to go to the viewing station. And the reason we go at midnight is there's nobody out there at midnight.
Yeah.
So we can crawl around and go to the places we want and not have flash cameras going off and the like. And it's good for photographers. The third way hasn't happened yet on this flow. Once the lava gets up to a certain height, it exits the crater and heads with gravity downhill. And at some point, it comes out on the surface of the land and heads toward the sea. And that, if you ever want an adventure, I'll take you on that adventure, and we'll hike out.
Okay.
It is intimidating the first couple of times you go. You need to go with an expert. I won't go into all the reasons why, but I promise me you need to go. And you walk right out to where it's flowing, and it's right in front of you. I took my grandson and granddaughter out there on a Christmas day a couple of years ago, and my grandson got to take a pick and feel how viscous the lava is when it's running. It looks like liquid, but it's like taffy.
And you could get that close to it.
It's incredibly hot. He couldn't stand it for more than just 2 seconds, and then he had to, back up. But I've had my shoes catch on fire, and you do funny things out there, like you'll put your backpack down with $20,000 worth of camera in it, and then you look over and your backpack is smoking.
Oh boy!
The lava you put it on is quite warm. It can be extremely dangerous. We had a dear friend die out there from gas inhalation, and CJ fell down a hole and compound fractured his leg. You can really get hurt out there, but I would only take you to a place that I felt was as safe as can be. It's never perfectly safe. And then the way that we love to do it, maybe the most, is to get on a boat, because it involves no hiking. And you get on a boat at 4 a.m, and it takes you a while to get out to where the lava's running into the sea over a 65-foot cliff, and you photograph it from the ocean. And that can be dangerous too. One of the boats got hit by a lava bomb a couple of years ago and injured a lot of people. So it's there's many ways to do it, but there's a way for everyone to enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I may take you up on that one day, though, to go out and see that. Yeah. So I just want to share some of these wonderful comments. And so Don Welsh says your nose looks fine from when it was broken.
Hi, Don.
Judith Carr, she says, hey, Don, congratulations. Steve Becker says, cool looking stuff on those shelves behind you, Don.
Oh, I got all sorts of stuff back there. I like rocks. We like rocks, and I got my All-American certificate back there. Gee, odd that it could be seen in this photo. I don't know how it ended up in that particular spot, but I ran track, and I kept a few little things. My wife, the first year we were married, she said, what are all those things? I said, oh, those are my trophies from track. Oh, let's put those in the trash. So those went in the trash 50 years ago, but I did save my medals and my All-American certificate.
They went into your pretentious life book. No.
My pretentious, absolutely.
Pike Thompson says your retirement book is great, very insightful.
Good.
And then we have a question here from Elizabeth. She says, they lived in Maui from 98 to 99 and the centipedes were an issue. Are they still an issue?
Well, they're not an issue if you have, I have Terminex come out, and they use something called Strodium 90 around the house. I don't know what that is, but it has a half-life of 78,000 years, and it'll keep them away. So no, I don't know what they use, but I wouldn't live here without somebody like Terminex, because we do get centipedes. They are as big as your cell phone or bigger.
Wow.
And my wife actually was outside and had one crawl on her leg the other day. Didn't bite her, thank goodness. But if they bite you, it's no fun at all. So you have to watch out for them if you're out in certain kinds of grass and the like. I mentioned in the book how I was hiding in the cane grass from the fleece one night, and my biggest concern was centipedes.
Yeah, swim with crocodiles, but worry about those centipedes. So Don, with all of these adventures that you have been on, you must have learned some life lessons. What are a couple of life lessons that you've learned about yourself?
Well, I don't want to say this as a blanket statement, because I'm sure it's not true, but I can do anything. And so can you, and so can our listeners today. We set up these safety rails for our life, and they're bogus in a lot of cases. I've ended up doing, let's take sharks, for example. I grew up around sharks, so sharks never really terrified me. but I wasn't as comfortable with them as I am now. And it's a matter of having professionals around you to teach you and to get acquainted with the safety procedures and the like. And if you do those kind of things, honestly, you can do anything. So I just say, take down those barriers when you retire and give everything a try. And if you fail, who cares? As long as it doesn't kill you, who cares if you fail? I don't care about failing anymore. I did when I was, in business and in athletics, but I don't care now. If I fail, I can get up again and try it, see if I can do it the next time. The second thing I learned is always have your head on a swivel. So if you're in dangerous situations, and I'll give you 2 or 3, lava, we have a rule in lava. If one of us yells run, you run. No one asks why. You don't look around to see what the problem is. You run. And when you get far enough away, you turn around and look back and see what, fell into the ocean. So somebody yells run, run. Keep your head on a swivel and see what's going on around you. If you're in the water with sharks, as soon as you hit the water, you look around and see where the sharks are. And you keep looking around all the time to see what's, you don't want to be surprised. I'm not afraid of sharks. I am afraid of being surprised by a shark. So keep your head on a swivel. And the third one was, I'll mention a particular place. My wife and I were in Belize City, and we love Belize. I'm not so sure I love Belize City. Belize City was a little scary. And I looked like, we looked like tourists, obviously, and we looked like older tourists. And everybody who looked at us like we were a chicken dinner. And so I had my head on a swivel all the time. And after about 5 minutes, I said to Linda, yeah, let's go back to the boat.
Yeah.
And we did. So I think having some caution in your adventuresome life is a worthwhile thing.
I think those are really good tips. I love the I can do anything. And, and it's a hard lesson sometimes, I think, to take away because we get scared. But to step into it with caution, I think, and with experts, like you've said.
Some of those experts know me well enough, like CJ, for example, that he lies to me. So, and because he knows darn well, I don't like heights, for example. And so he'll hike me out someplace 2 hours, and then he'll go, after we've hiked 2 hours with 25-pound packs on this particular day, it was 100 degrees. And he'll say, yeah, you're not going to like this next part. Go, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, you're not going to like it. Let's go single file from here on. And then there's a 2,000-foot drop off next to me. Honestly, if he'd have told me that ahead of time, I said, I'll wait for you in the car, no problem. But he lies to me, or he'll say it's 10 more minutes when it's an hour, or, so the funny part is, though, he makes sure that he thinks it's safe, and he keeps an eye on me, and he keeps coaching me and talking me and in contact with me, and by golly, I get it done.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need a coach and a mentor and a provocateur to get these things done.
And it's kind of nice, Don, because I know you've been that for other people. So now people are being that for you, and you are still being that for other people. Yeah. So great book, What's Left of Don, and Pretentious Memoir, if you want to read those. And then your retirement book. I want to see that one. That sounds good.
Yeah. Good.
So thanks for being on. Let me just share one more time about how people can find you. So if they want to email you, djhzz@aol.com, the only AOL user left. And his website. And seriously, go to the website and look at the pictures in that gallery. You will just be absolutely blown away. I hope you don't stop sending me email with those pictures, Don, because I enjoy them every time they show up in my inbox.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So I want to encourage my listeners too, if they like what they're hearing on Hey Boomer, to continue to support this show. You can buy me a cup of coffee That's the link that you would use. And for $75 contribution to buy me a coffee, you will get a sponsorship slot on the show. So hopefully I will see some of you there. You can do $10, $25, whatever feels right to you. So let me tell you about our guest next week. He also went on an adventure. His name is Larry Jacobson. And Larry had this dream since he was a little boy of sailing around the world. And he finally did it. He sold his business. It took him 6 years of traveling because he kept stopping in places and spending months. And it's a great adventure story. And then the story at the other end, well, what do you do when you get back? And what did you learn? And so now he is coaching and motivating people to live your dream. So I think that's going to be a fun show, an interesting show.
Wendy.
Yes.
Thank you for how much effort you put into your preparation for this. It is very noticeable. I really appreciate it. I read your blog. I read the recent one with the info from your dad and all that. It was wonderful. And it's just a pleasure being with you this morning. So aloha and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And you commented on the blog, so thank you for that too. So let me remind the boomers that I always end with a quote from C.S. Lewis. And he said, "You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream." So continue hanging out with us here every Monday to dream, to learn, to grow together, to build this community. And I will see you all next week. My name is Wendy Green, and this has been Hey Boomer.
Are you at risk for stroke or cardiovascular disease? Get screened with Lifeline Screening for peace of mind or early detection. Screenings are painless, easy, and non-invasive. Over 700,000 people per year get screened at Lifeline Screening. Click in the show notes for a special offer for Hey Boomer listeners.